I was in treatment for about 7 weeks, and now I'm going to another treatment center, but in between the two, I have like a week home. So that's where I am now. You guys asked me some questions on Twitter and Instagram about my eating disorder or just eating disorders in general. So I'm going to answer those to the best of my ability. I do want to first say I'm not a professional. I'm only someone who's been through it. So I'm answering from my experience personally. Also, I want to give a trigger warning because this is about eating disorders and it may be triggering to some people talking about these topics of questions that I'm answering. If you see me looking over here, it's because I have the questions pulled up on my computer. The first question is it triggered by certain things or situations? I would say to that, it can be, but an eating disorder is a disorder that you can be born with and you are inherited and you can't change it. But certain situations can make it worse or it can make you relapse. So I think, like me being born, I was born with an eating disorder because it started when I was young before I even knew what the term was. But certain things do trigger me to follow the behaviors and patterns more than other things. Someone else said, I'm in a bad time where I'm thinking about not eating. How do I avoid these feelings? That's a tough one because I know it's really hard. I would say do the best you can to get down what you can. And remember that food is not the enemy, the eating disorder is, and food will never hurt you as much as your eating disorder. And even if you can get down like a Cliff Bar, those are good supplements if you can't eat a full meal, maybe some soup or crackers, just anything to try and get something down, even if you have to force yourself into it. I know it's hard, trust me, I'm kind of in that position now, going from weeks and weeks in a treatment center to being at home. I'm really struggling with that too, but you just have to push yourself. I mean, there's not really another answer to that. You just have to fight it as hard as you can. It says the treatment centers treat each form of eating disorders, or there are specific centers for certain disorders. So in my experience, I was looking at 2 or 3 before I went into my first one, and all of them treated multiple ones. So to my knowledge, most all of them treat, from like anorexia, bulimia, OSFED, orthorexia, binge eating. So to my knowledge, I think they all just get like put in the same one. I'm sure there's centers out there that treat individual subtypes of eating disorders, but from my experience, it's all been everyone in one place. Is it triggering to be around people who are going through the same thing? Yes and no. Yes, because eating disorders are so competitive and full of comparison, so that obviously is going to happen when you're around people that are sick like you, because we're all sick and your mind is going to compare your eating disorder to others and try to compete to be the sickest. So that can be hard in that aspect, but in the aspect of having people who truly understand you is like nothing else. Like getting to go to this place and being surrounded by girls who are going through my situation or something very similar is so helpful because it makes you feel so much less alone. And like if you're sitting there crying over your dinner plate, odds are someone else is too. So it's like people genuinely get it, and I like that. What kind of encouragement is helpful? Is it harmful to hear compliments based on looks and not health? That one's hard. It depends. With looks, I would say don't say someone looks healthy or compliment the body in any way. You could compliment their makeup or their hair or their personality, like internal beauty things, not just like external appearance really. At least for me, I can find it really triggering, and I know other people can too. And I don't know, I would stray away from body compliments completely. And don't say, oh, you look healthy, or oh, you're still skinny, don't worry about it, or whatever. That's not good, and it triggers me, and I'm sure from the people I know it triggers them too. So I would say avoid that. And what kind of comments are helpful is to compliment someone's eternal beauty. Like what they have on the inside that makes them beautiful and who they are, because eating disorders are so focused on outside appearance, and inside beauty should be accounted for, I believe. And it's a great part of recovering is realizing your self-worth outside of the shell that you live in. So this one's kind of long, so I'm gonna have to read it off here. It says, I don't really have a question about an eating disorder, but I do have a friend going through treatment and I want to know if there's anything I can do to help support or motivate her. She was doing really well, and unfortunately she got bad again, and she's going back. I'm so sad for her, and I want her to know that I'm there for her and she's going to be okay. I guess, I don't know, I just want to make sure I say the right things and I don't trigger her. So like I said before, I would say stray away from compliments or anything talking about the body or the look, I would say never be like, oh, are you eating? Are you doing this? Like, I know it comes from a good place, but it can feel like a lot of pressure if someone's just sitting and asking you and like always being about food. I would say the best thing that's the most helpful is to just be a friend, and don't treat them as someone with an eating disorder. Treat them as a person. And if they're going through something, maybe they'll open up to you, or maybe you can say something as simple as like, how are you doing? Or what can I do to help you? So that's not you forcing your ways on someone, but it's giving them the permission to feel comfortable to open up to you and to ask you for help where they need it, instead of worrying about triggering people, because everyone has different triggers. So it's hard to answer that, because I know what triggers me and what triggers some of my friends with it, but I don't know what triggers everyone. So I would say compliment on inner beauty, like I said before, stray away from body talk or food talk, and give them the space to let them know you're there and that they can come to you, but not force stuff out of them. How long are you expected to stay? Also, I love you, keep fighting. I love you too, thank you. It really depends. A lot of places I know start with like 6 to 8 weeks. When I was first admitted, I was admitted for 12 weeks. And then unfortunately I didn't get to stay because of insurance. So I guess it really depends on like insurance and where you are in your recovery journey. At the place I went to, I think they start off with giving everyone 12 weeks and then they lengthen or shorten it as needed. All treatment centers are really individualized care. So I know they do it based on the person and what they're going through to base how long they need to be there. But I would say most people stay at least 6 to 8 weeks, if not more. Can you talk more about the physical damages that eating disorders cause the body, and how recovery is just so much than just eat more and what your body physically goes through? Yes. Eating disorders physically destroy you. For me personally, I lost my periods. I have thyroid issues. My blood pressure is severely low. Osteopenia or osteoporosis, which is your bones being really brittle and frail, and it can completely destroy your bones. This might be TMI, but it affects your bathroom habits completely. From struggling with lax abuse, it makes you just, that doesn't work anymore. And you can also develop gastroparesis, which means your stomach literally cannot accept food. And some people have to be on ostomy bags or feeding tubes, for some permanent, some for ages, because your body starts to treat food as an enemy. And so even if you're trying to eat and you're willing to eat, your body's not going to take it. And I take like 15 medications a day just to keep my body going. And I've been doing this for 7 weeks and I still have to take that many supplements, and I'm going to have to take that for a really long time because it just destroys your body physically. Like, I think most people think eating disorders are like this mental thing about wanting to be skinny and don't really look at the physical side effects, because they base it on like, oh, it's just someone who's really frail and skinny, which is, it's so much more than that. It destroys the inside of your body. When you don't eat or you overeat, your body starts to eat itself. And so it's literally your muscles and your bones are being eaten by your body, which isn't gruesome, but that's what it is, and that's what's happening. And you bruise really easily. I have bruises all down my legs, and I didn't do anything. When I first went into treatment, I threw up like 17 times because my body rejected food. Bathroom issues of both kinds. Your body just doesn't work. It starts to shut down. Your counts go down, your blood cells, white blood cells, all of that stuff. I was in the ER like 2 different times, and like all of my stuff was whack, and all of my body parts were like failing. And my body was starting to fail. I was like fainting, passing out. Like, that's the same thing, but you get what I mean. I mean, it literally is slowly killing your body. And it's your body shutting down. So it starts to take your period because you don't need that to live. And so then it'll start taking different body fluids and stuff that you need that's not required to live but helps your body system. Then after that, it starts to take pieces of your muscle or your bones. And when it runs out of muscle, it starts to take away from your heart, which can cause heart disease or heart failure, and is sadly the deadliest illness for psychiatric illnesses. And it completely physically takes your body away. So the next question is it talking about food hard? I know I've mentioned cooking before and I didn't know if that could be a trigger. Yes and no. It really depends. There's some people who I know are obsessed with like making food and cooking. They just don't want any part of eating it. And so I know that's the case for a lot of people. And then some people just don't like food talk in general. It's so like hard to tell. I guess based on me, it's a yes and no. I can talk about food, but it is still really hard for me. And it's not that it triggers me, it's just that it's hard for me to talk about it because I don't want food. And so talking about food is hard when you don't want it. But it's not that it like triggers me to eat more or less. It just is like difficult to talk about something you don't like, essentially. How are you the sweetest person ever is the next question. And thank you. I'm not, but I'll take it. I'm learning to take compliments. The next one is, how are you such an amazing human? How did you do it? What's your secret? You keep fighting like a bitch. That's all I got. And the last question is about comparing how treatment centers were to how they are now. So since this was my first time in treatment, I hadn't been before this, and I had gotten information from the person who sent it in about their treatment center experiences in 2016. And it sounded extremely different. They were saying they were force-fed and, you know, taken a lot of things from them, which that's not my experience. I know every center in the world is going to treat you differently, and every center in the world that treats you differently is going to treat every person differently, because eating disorders are so diverse in how they affect people. So they did force me to eat, but it's not like they would like hold me down and do it. They would make you eat a supplement or put food in front of you, and if you didn't eat it, you would have to get written up and be held accountable for your actions. You have to be compliant or they kick you out, essentially. Or you get written up, and if you get written up too much, insurance will cut you off for being non-compliant. So that's difficult. So I guess it's a little the same in that. And in some severe cases, they can force feed you, but I think that's when it gets to a different point. The majority of times, from my knowledge, that doesn't happen much. And then I guess it's, how has it changed? Well, I'll say from my experience, it's like we'd have 3 meals and 3 snacks a day, and that would be on time, on schedule, like here and there, and we'd have to do that. And then we'd have 3 to 4 groups every day, which would be like art therapy or family issues or nutrition class or a processing group. Just like a group there, we talk about things. We do lessons on body confidence and different things every day. And we'd have those Monday through Friday. And then we'd also have individual sessions with like a family therapist and an individual therapist and a nutritionist. And so you'd have meetings with them once a week, and then all the other things, 2 to 3 or 3 to 4 a day. And then on weekends, we usually had 1 group on Saturday, and then Sunday we didn't have any groups. So the weekend was more to work on assignments and homework that you were given in the center and things like that, and still the meals and the lunches and snacks and all of that stuff. And then also my center went on outings. I know that's common for some places. So on Tuesdays we went out for lunch, and on Thursdays we went out for a snack. And then on Saturdays we had a recreational outing, which was where we would vote on some place we could go, and we were allowed to just go there for like an hour and a half with our group. So yeah, that's kind of how it was from my experience. Again, every center is different, and I do think things have changed a lot with how they do them. And by the way this person described it, it didn't seem like a fun experience. So I'm really sorry for those who've had to experience things so deeply painful in treatment. I experienced some lows and also some great moments in treatment, and I'm excited to go back to my new place. Sorry this is long. I'm long-winded when I answer questions. Thank you guys for sending them in. You can comment down below if you have any more, and I'll try to answer them. I don't know exactly the day I'm getting admitted into my next place, so it may be a while before my new video, but you can leave suggestions and all of that down below or anything. And you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. It's the same as here, and it's in the description. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and stay strong.